Yes. Unity Center, DC. Hey, namaste. Greetings. What's up, people? We are in November, the season of not Thanksgiving, but thanks living. Breathe that in. Breathe that in. Because that's sort of what we're going to be talking about today. It is great to be with you all, as always. And if I have your permission, I would like to share Ray, that's October. That laugh is so October and Halloween. We're in November now. Okay, I got you. I got you. Okay. Today we're talking about this idea of living beyond the beyond, a the way of trans spiritual living. And this has been something that I personally have been experimenting with and exploring through my healing process from surgery April of last year. And, technically it's a 2-year healing process. So I have a couple more months until I'm completely, based upon the medical professionals and their time frame, once that happens. But I've been exploring this idea of what it means to really live what we preach, what we teach, what we study. Now, I feel like there should be a slight danger, Will Robinson. Like, I feel like there should be a warning that stirring the pot today is inevitable. So, if we are ready, and if I have your permission to stir the pot and poke the bear, let's take a nice breath and go into the space. So, a couple of things. I love when synchronicities show up the way that they do, because Chick shared during the reading from the Daily Word that there's this throughout the seasons of life, my Christ light shines brightly. Now, what does that mean? It means that no matter what is going on, spring, summer, fall, winter, that which is the Christ of our being is ever present. That's part of what it means to live this beyond the beyond. It is sinking into, getting into the absolute while experiencing the relative. Sarah sang this beautiful song that you just heard, Sunrise, Sunset. Is it not interesting, however, that the sun doesn't rise nor does it set? The sun is ever still. It is the relative experience that we have that moves. And yet, the paradox of both and. Children are born, they grow up, they become beautiful adults such as all of us. And then at some point we shed this form and go into life after life, for that which God is cannot die, and it is ever expanding and ever evolving consciousness. It is the infinite, the eternal, and the immortal. And what it is, we are. Paradox, both the relative and the absolute. So in this thing called life, of watching children grow, watching trees shed their leaves, our invitation is to sink in and remind ourselves, no matter what is changing, that which God is. That which God is does, as the absolute, does not change. God as the relative experiences change because it is experiencing this thing called life in, through, and as us. But the absolute, love, the absolute, the eternal, the absolute, the Christ consciousness, doesn't change based upon the weather, doesn't change based upon an election, doesn't change based upon the flu, doesn't change based upon the stomach ache, doesn't change based upon doesn't change. That's how we know we can trust it. But being mindful and realizing that trusting it is also trusting it as us. Do we trust our own divine power and presence? Or do we fourth class citizenship ourselves? Well, Ray, if you really knew me and how badly I balance my checkbook, there is no way you would recognize and call me divine. Well, Ray, if you understood that in my childhood. Well, if you saw me last Wednesday, do we put ourselves in this place of it's easier to downplay our humanity, which is our divinity? Sunrise, sunset. Our humanity is our divinity because that which God is all there is. So even this thing where we are spiritual beings having a human experience, we are spiritual beings having a spiritual experience that we call human. Breathe. In New Thought, we do a lot of talking about evolving consciousness and enlightenment and healing and transformation. Now, in best case scenario, in a lot of ways, we're barely scratching the surface. Worst case scenario, when we get locked into jargon, we are actually hindering ourselves and others from truly living as divine beings. Now, pause for a moment and let's ask ourselves, when are the times that we might be hindering ourselves from our own divine grace and joy and beauty? Because this idea of going beyond the beyond, just that one word, beyond, implies that there has to be a barrier. There's a line, there's a border, there's a something that you got to go somewhere over the rainbow. Well, okay, so the rainbow is my boundary and I'm going over it, I'm going beyond it. We're going beyond Munchkin Land to get to where the wizard is. We have to go beyond where we are to get where we. But. What if that word beyond, referencing our spirituality, what if that is simply jargon? What if the very things we are seeking, we already are? What if, because of our comfort zones and how we've been conditioned and how we've been indoctrinated by the world and all this other stuff, and even when it's metaphysical malpractice or metaphysical malfeasance or spiritual bypass, and we don't even realize that that's what it is, but there's all these ways that we can get trapped within the confines of. Note, stirring the pot now, anytime we reference things like writer's block, we are putting a boundary up. We are saying that there is something that can block God from being the creative essence of what I am. Now, let's look through the Bible metaphysically, of course, and let's find that lesson where Jesus said, hold on, I got to pull it up. Where Jesus said, it's the words in red, it's easier to find. For healings cannot occur today, for I have healer's block, and I am unable to take Ritz crackers and tuna fish and feed the multitudes, for I feel blocked. Give me time to go meditate, and once my writer's block, once my creative block, once my Christ block is, there's no such thing. So our invitation is to ask, what is this perceived block? And is there a way that I can express it, express what is going on in a more life-affirming way? Sarah, I was working on this song last week. Wink, wink, this is a joke. And I was working on this song last week and I hit writer's block or, lyricist, creators, I don't even know what it's called, but I hit a block. To which Sarah says, well, Ray, let's talk about that. Describe what the block is. Well, I was going here and I was trying to make it rhyme and I couldn't come up with something to rhyme with supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And Sarah, does what Sarah does. And she, inspired and inquired me to go deeper. And what I found is the creativity is For some reason, I am allowing myself to be distracted by the latest thing on CNN, or what's going on with my neighbor next door, or my cat who continues to steal the knives out of the kitchen. I'm distracted by all of these things. So that's actually what it is. It's not writer's block. It's not creative block. Is it I in this moment am experiencing low self-esteem? I don't feel that I am worthy. I am good enough to create, to sing, to perform, to write, to publish, to teach? Is that what it actually is? Is it simply, oh, I've hit a space where the words need to gestate longer. And so I step back and let them do exactly that without trying to push and force the characters. Stand back and let the characters evolve. Let me go get some tea. Let me go, go on a daily stroll and then come back. And then I find, there it is. Now I know exactly what Romeo is going to do. Now I know exactly what I now know. Is it that? See, oftentimes we get stuck in this jargon. So an invitation to help us move through this is, let us ask ourselves within New Thought, because we are here for a specific reason. What is it that we want to be? What do we want to do? What do we want to have? By studying New Thought, by studying the principles of unity, I want to be, I want to have, I want to do. What? In our lives, in our individual personal lives, if I were to say, Jane, in your life, from where you are today, where is it that you desire to go? Realizing that there is nowhere to go. If we were all right now at the Grand Canyon, wink, wink, if we were right now at the Grand Canyon, helicopter visit and all, if we're already there, where is there to go when we say we want to go there? So, keeping in mind that when I say, Jane, where is it that you want to go? The actual question is, who is it that you deeply desire to be as the expression of your divinity in your life? As your life. What is that you desire? What is it that we are seeking to attain? What is it that we are striving to improve? What is it that we are wanting in our own lives and in the lives of our loved ones and the world? We want to be healed. And when we say we want it to be healed, what does that mean? I mean, it's one thing to say it, Ray, because I've been getting a lot of these lately. Ray, I would like prayer regarding our democracy and the healing of. Cool, I'm all with you. But when you say that, what does that look like? What does that sound like? What does it smell like? What do schools look like? What do hospitals look like? What do churches and spiritual centers look like in a world that is healed? What does that look like? When we talk about abundance, yes, but what does it look like? Because I can have, Helen and I can have a conversation and Helen says to me, Reverend Ray, you complain an awful lot. And I say, well, Helen, I've got an abundance of bills and an abundance of problems and a wealth of issues. Matter of fact, I don't just have issues, I got subscriptions. So we can have an abundance of things that are not life affirming. So when John is chatting with me and I say to John, I want more abundance in my life. And John says, I got you. I'm right there with you. Same page. But when you say that, what do you mean? An abundance of love. Cool. Got you. I'm right there with you. But what does that look like? I read a study where they talked about the average adult only receives, one hug a month or one a week or whatever. And according to, the medical professionals and psychologists, when we receive so few hugs, we are actually in starvation mode. So when talking to John and I say, I want more love, I want an abundance of, I want that. Okay, what does it look like? I want 17 hugs a day. I want to sit down with friends at least once a week and have meaningful, deep, spiritual and metaphysical conversations where we question and run up into the mystery. And okay, and John says, I'm with you. Now I understand. Now we can pray because now we have a clear vision. Keeping in mind that there is a passage in the Bible where it says, you have not because you pray amiss. And looking at the etymology of that, you pray amiss, it is you pray with the wrong motive. The motivation that you have for what you are praying for is actually not in alignment with what you are saying. Getting very clear what motivates us to study this teaching, to do what we do, to live how we live. What is that? So even when we unity principles, even when we, so okay, unity principle number one, there is only one presence and only one power active in and as the universe itself and in and as our lives, God the good. Just that alone, are we willing to say, well, wait a minute, if there is only one presence, then that one presence is right now showing up as Kathleen and me and Cheryl and Jan, but it's only one presence. Well, Ray, but how? How many humanities are there? When we talk about the planet and humanity, humans, human beings, humanity, there is only one humanity that shows up as each individual within the scope of. So it's not that difficult to say there is one power and one presence, that which is the infinite God, the good. And if there's only one presence, then that means this thing that I refer to as my presence must be of it. Which means that good that God is must also be showing up in, through, and as me. Am I willing to go beyond the beyond into that space where I do not limit myself and I absorb the space that says, well, this essence that is God, this divinity called the Christ, was fully expressed in the personhood of Yeshua, Jesus the Christ. And it is inherent in all people. So, whoa, wait a minute, chick, what you talking about? Well, Ray, I'm talking about that which, when we refer to Jesus as the Christ, that power, that presence, that essence, that has to also be inherent in you right now. Well, wait a minute, chick. Didn't Jesus take, Metaphysics 101 and Ray, hush up now, because you already told me you got a subscription. We ain't going through all of it. No. Trust me when I tell you right here and right now that power and that presence is right now inherent, which then takes us to principle number 5. Do I live it? Do I, knowing that my mental equivalent is one of that which is the Christ, love, joy, wisdom, power, presence, my thoughts, my words, when I speak, when Sarah and I have a conversation, am I speaking from that awareness? Or am I speaking from, hold on, Sarah, let me go get you. So this is, because, I told Helen I had a subscription. So this is issue 77, volume 4612. Hold on. My life is miserable. And is that what I'm doing? Am I pulling up from all of the past baggage of and bringing it into my words today? Because that's not living beyond the beyond. That's living trapped in the, and if I'm trapped in the, then these are just words that I'm saying. They're not words that I'm living. Ernest Holmes made a statement at one point where he said, for the highest God and the innermost God is one God, not two. Meister Eckhart said, between me and God, there is no between. Joel Goldsmith says, God expresses God, and that expression appears as you. it appears as you. Well, wait a minute. So when we read in John 10, verse 30, Jesus says, I and the Father are one. Okay. And later they're like, oh, we're going to stone you. And Jesus is like, okay, y'all going to stone me. Okay, what is it? It's Wednesday. What's the reason you're going to stone me today? Like what could possibly be? And it's like, because you are a mere man, yet claim to be God. To which Jesus replied, is it not written in your own law that ye are gods? And then he reminds them again towards the end, and understand that the Father is in me and I am in the Father. Are we living our lives like that? Are we living our lives recognizing and realizing that God the good is expressing in, through, and as us right now? Because that's the invitation. This idea of trans spiritual is realizing that when we talk about whatever this is, transforming and healing and enlightenment, realizing that there is nowhere for us to go. If God is all there is, everything and everywhere, because see, God isn't simply omnipotent, God is omnipotence itself. God isn't omniscient, omniscience itself. God is the absolute, because that which is now omnipotent has boundaries, has limits. It has become relative. Our invitation is realizing that this absolute, all powerful, all wise, all power, all wisdom, all is individualizing and expressing itself right here and right now as Scott, as Joan, as Carolyn. It is showing up as us. So anytime we don't recognize our own divine innate wisdom and power and presence, then we are dismissing the truth of our being. And if we're dismissing the truth of our being, then what we are going to do is live by another truth that isn't as true can be. In other words, is Santa Claus real? Many of us would say, well, no, Santa Claus isn't real. And I hear you. And yet, if Santa Claus wasn't real, then I wouldn't be able to say Santa Claus and you know what it is. But the fact that I can say that name and you have a reference point means that there is a concept, there is an image, there is some element of. So fiction doesn't mean unreal. Fiction simply means a different kind of reality, a different kind of truth, which is why we can read stories and movies and whatnot and get a metaphysical understanding of it, because the story is the truth. So once again, our invitation, which I have learned is one reason why I refer to this as trans spiritual, as I have learned from many of my transgender friends and siblings and whatnot, is there is this inner truth that does not matter what the outward shows or reflects. They choose to live based upon the inner truth, the true truth. And as a result of anchoring to that, they then manifest the outward appearance to match the inner. They align as within, so without, as above, so below. Are we willing to do the same? Knowing that that which God is isn't simply within us, it is us. Every fingernail, every eyelash, every hair that is still growing outside of the ear, which I don't know why they grow outside, but all of it, it's God. It has to be, which means so are you, right here and right now. So living beyond the beyond, this trans spiritual life is breathing into and saying, ah, I am that I am. And yet, When I was growing up in Pittsburgh and I had many Jewish friends, invited over because I was the only black friend that many of my Jewish friends had. So it was very novel for them to invite Ray over for dinner. So I had great conversations with my Jewish friends, and several of them I ended up conversing with their rabbi, and all of them said the same thing. You know, you Christians have that not quite correct. When we say Yod He Vav He, which he didn't say it that way, but when we say Yahweh, you say I am that I am. A more accurate translation is I am that which I am ever becoming more and more of the truth of myself. I am ever becoming more and more of that which God is as me. I will not allow any person, any place, anything, any policy, anything to limit me. I will not even let my own paradigms and consciousness limit me. I live beyond the beyond in the space of the truth, the whole truth, and only that which is true. I am the divine, and that is the truth for all of us, right here and right now. And so it is. Let us pause and breathe. And as we breathe, let us recognize that this breath is happening for us and as us. Because none of us are consciously telling our lungs to expand and contract, consciously drawing air in and expelling it out. We are simply allowing it to occur, which means that which is the infinite, that which is the one presence and one power, is breathing itself as us. And we simply surrender into it. We are able to sing along with Sarah. Breath is happening. We are envisioning our trip to the Grand Canyon, and breath is happening. We can go get some tea, and breath is happening. We can check our email, and breath is happening. This thing called breathing, respiration, the divine yin and yang of life, that which we receive and that which we release, occurring right here and right now. So this breath that we surrender into, this breath that demonstrates the give and take of the universe, this breath that anchors us into this right here and right now, because we can't rebreathe Saturday's breath. We can't pre-breathe Monday's breath. We can't save a breath for election day. We can only breathe right here and right now. And so we breathe. And as we breathe, we reflect upon the song we just heard, Our Thoughts Are Prayers, which reminds us of Thessalonians when we are told to rejoice always and pray without ceasing. Our thoughts are prayers. Pray without ceasing. In other words, rather than we relegate prayer as a solo activity, we move into the space of beyond the beyond. A trans-spiritual life is a life where we understand that our life is our prayer. The way we live, move, and have our beingness is our amen. The way we greet the sunrise, no matter what time of day we get up, and bless and gratitude at the sunset, no matter what time we lay down to go to bed. That all of this is our, and so it is, all of this is a demonstration of our divinity, of what it means to live, move, and be that which we already are. And so we breathe as we enter into the silence, breathing. Om Shanti, divine peace. Breathe. And so we breathe, recognizing that each breath gives us the opportunity to participate in our own healing individually and collectively. That our thoughts, being our prayers, gives us the opportunity to transform every system and everything that is in the world that we no longer desire to be. In other words, we anchor our mental equivalent to such a degree, our thoughts are prayers. We anchor this awareness with such divine power and presence that we make war obsolete, extinct, that we take to heart peace on earth, goodwill towards all, goodwill as all. And we breathe, recognizing that this breath is a divine demonstration of our sacred power, as that one power and one presence breathes itself as us. Between me and God, there is no between. We breathe and allow that truth to resonate through every cell of our bodies, every muscle, every tendon, every bone, every neutron, electron, proton, every quantum particle and wave. It is all God from the top of our heads to the soles of our feet. Every word we speak, that word made flesh. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always living, moving, and having our beingness as prayer. Breathe. And so it is.